Nature is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and biannual financial support from viewers like you, your local gas company, and America's natural gas industry, fueling vehicles for a cleaner environment. And by Canon, quality and innovation for the way we work and live. Canon.
For wildlife lovers, perhaps nothing compares to Africa. It has beauty, drama, spectacle, and a roster of animals we never seem to get enough of, like lions, cheetahs, gorillas, elephants, and chimps. Can one film truly capture the essence of Africa? Well, probably not, but coming up just might be the next best thing. A collection of some of the best moments in natural history filmmaking from Africa.
The water hole. Wherever there is water, animals gather from across the Serengeti plains. The first thin line of the wildebeest herd has arrived at the shallows of Lake Ndutu. And wherever there is water, lions wait in ambush. Zebras are here as well, for the two great herds travel together. As they reach down for the life-giving water, death closes in. One zebra escapes, and one does not. The lions have done their work, and the pride will assemble to share the prize. The zebras seem to know that one death has brought them a measure of safety. The wildebeest push on. Their migration across the Serengeti is an epic contest between life and death. At more than 1 million strong, they are the greatest gathering of land animals on Earth. Their story is the very essence of Africa itself. A giraffe moves away from the noisy herd to perform her own quiet drama. A baby is on its way, and in giraffe fashion, it enters the world from a great height. A giraffe is an excellent mother. Despite her calm nature, she is capable of killing a lion to protect her calf. After its unceremonious landing, the baby must struggle to its feet as soon as it can. Remarkably, it takes less than a minute. Even at birth, giraffes are 6 feet tall. When they're standing, that is. A second try, and it's found its mother's milk. A nosy oxpecker joins the baby for its first meal. Sharp eyes scan the horizon of the Kalahari Desert. A meerkat is on guard duty. Along with a teammate, he keeps watch over the babies while the rest of the meerkats are out looking for food. The babies are a handful and the hours are long, but he is tireless in his devotion to duty. Several families live in a meerkat pack. It's an egalitarian society with no apparent rank. Meerkat babies grow up to share and share alike. Their guardian spots a martial eagle and chirps out an alarm. When the coast is clear, the tiny sentinels stand tall once more, fiercely protecting their tiny patch of desert. Natural fountains of water. This could be paradise in the African desert. But this water is lethal and paradise is hard to come by. This is a soda lake in the valley of the Great Rift. Its waters are hot and so caustic they would sear our skin off in seconds. Yet this is paradise for birds of exotic beauty, flamingos. Flamingos sift these hostile waters for the algae on which they feed. The surroundings are so inhospitable that no predators dare come near them. Africa has a special way of blending the deadly and the beautiful, and it is only on these poisonous soda lakes that flamingos can live and breed. Flamingo dancing is a ritual to attract a mate, but no earthbound dance equals the spectacle of flamingos in flight. In contrast to the soda lakes, the waters of the Okavango Delta in Botswana run fresh and sweet. African jacana chicks live on the lily-padded surface, looked after by their protective father. He calls for the chicks and tucks them up under his wings at the first sign of danger. A fish eagle looms above, and below the placid surface, tigerfish prowl. The jacana holds tight to his brood. Only a forest of feet gives the family away. Carefully watching his every step, he seeks shelter. But this time, the tables turn on the tigerfish and the jacanas go free. Africa's rivers appear tranquil, but there's always something going on. Male hippos argue constantly over their patch of river, and arguments quickly escalate. But soon they settle back into the water and allow an oxpecker to groom ticks and parasites away. Peace is restored, and the hippos become spectators to one of the most daring river crossings on Earth. The wildebeest have traveled for days without water. They reach the Gurumeti River desperate for a drink. Coming to water is necessary, but always risky. Crocodiles 18 feet long infest the river. These monsters are old and crafty. Some may be 70 years old, and every year during the migration, they lie in wait for the wildebeest. Thirst drives the wildebeest back to drink. Two crocs fight over the best position, and once again, the wildebeest are lucky. The wildebeest trek on across the Serengeti, following the path of the rains to find good grazing. Waiting for them is the next gauntlet, African wild dogs. The great herd stops to graze, massing on the plains as far as the eye can see. A team of dogs sets off to test the wildebeest, looking for a weak one. Wild dogs run down their quarry over many miles and sometimes many hours. It's a contest of stamina rather than speed or surprise. A million wildebeest roam these plains. Not one will die of old age. In the panic, a calf has lost its mother. She calls, but he does not hear. As the herd moves on, mother and calf stay in the valley, trying to find each other. For the little calf, the situation is serious. He's too young to survive on his own. Confused, he looks everywhere, desperate for some guidance. A Cape buffalo shows no interest in his plight. A stork seems confused himself at the calf's unwanted attention. Exhausted, the little orphan drops down in the grass, unaware that a nap could end in the ultimate nightmare. Luckily, the lion's attack is only half-hearted. He must have already had something to eat. The vultures will get no scraps this time. With his escape from the lion, the calf's fortunes have turned. His mother has been searching all this time too, and finally he hears her call. Africa, for all its uncompromising demands, is not without mercy. This day, one small miracle takes place and one small life is saved. At the heart of the African continent, mountains rise into the clouds. Forests that could come from the dawn of time stand in the mist. This is the world of the mountain gorilla. The gorillas lead a quiet life up here, and after feeding, family groups spend the afternoon resting. Seeing these magnificent creatures in their natural setting, it's hard to account for the intense fear gorillas once inspired. In 1856, an American explorer called them a hellish dream creature, half man, half beast. Research by George Schaller, Diane Fossey, and the many scientists of the Karasoki Research Center in Rwanda has enlightened us about the lives of these close relatives of ours, and about how endangered they really are. There may be only some 600 in all the world. Real gorillas cannot live in the human imagination, and the mountain forests they need are under every form of human attack, including outright civil war. The recent fighting in Rwanda put a temporary stop to the research at Karasoki. But the war is coming to an end, and the news is hopeful that the gorillas and their forest are safe. Higher up in the peaks, the forest is left behind. 15,000 feet above equatorial Africa, on the flanks of Mount Kenya, it snows. Rock hyraxes are at home at these elevations, but even they look a bit surprised by the weather. They huddle together to keep each other warm. A snowfall this heavy is unusual. It only falls like this once in 50 years. Hyraxes are an ancient species once common on the plains, but more modern creatures have now replaced them down below. While snow and ice grip the peak of Mount Kenya, fire sweeps through the plains at its feet. Hawks hunt insects escaping from the flames. Swallows dive through the smoke. The wildebeest, forever bound for new pastures, calmly navigate through the burning grass. With dogged steps, they turn their backs to the fire and head straight for the greatest obstacle on their migration, the Mara River. At the Mara River, panic and chaos sweep through the herd. Animals tumble into the water, pushed by the crush of bodies from the rear. The river exacts a steep toll for the crossing. It takes days for the herd to cross the Mara, and even on the high ground of the other side, there is no safe haven. Lions do not follow the herd, but stake out territories along its route. They cannot trespass on another pride's land. They can only wait and be ready for the wildebeest to come to them. Lions kill by suffocating their prey. Wildebeest, it seems, are born to suffer a violent death. In a marsh in Tanzania, tiny cubs lie hidden in the grass. Cheetahs. Their mother must leave them behind to go off hunting. Cheetahs hunt during midday when lions and hyenas are resting. Their favorite prey is the Thompson's gazelle. She begins to stalk, her small streamlined head held steady in concentration, her spotted coat camouflaged against the grass. Her speed is only good for a short burst. Timing is everything. Even the cheetah's legendary 60 miles per hour is not always enough. The prey escapes half the time. With alarm, the cheetah hears lions back at the marsh. Lions actively search for cheetah cubs to kill them. The little cubs hide deeper in the grass. Their mother returns, but she is no match for a lion. She watches frantically as the cubs are discovered. When the lions are gone, she finds their little bodies. This is the lion's way of eliminating the competition. They would kill her too if they could catch her. The African skies seem to echo her sorrow. In the sudden downpour, a ceasefire goes out across the plains. And while the moment lasts, there are no deadly rivals in the rain. The rain triggers a resurrection. Bullfrogs have waited out the dry season in burrows deep in the sun-baked earth. At the sound of the rain, they emerge into the brief floodwaters and quickly search out a mate. Springbuck drink at the new pools and the Serengeti blooms. Everyone seems to celebrate. After the rains, the grass is rich again. It's just the right time for a zebra to be born. Shivering and still wet from the womb, the foal is on its feet within minutes and takes its first look around at the world. Its first trembling steps lead to its mother's milk. The foal doesn't have much time to gain its legs. It might soon be running for its life. The herd senses their old enemy, but cannot see the lion down in the ravine. The lion judges her distance and makes her move. The mare keeps her body between the lion and her foal, protecting the little one with her own life. And this time, it works. As the herd settles down, a fight breaks out between two stallions. They attack each other's hind legs, dropping to the ground in defense. A bite to a hock or a tendon would be crippling. The fight breaks off with a flash of deadly hooves. At foaling time, the wild dogs also give birth. They have a large litter this year, and hunting must be good because there is plenty of milk for the pups. The pups are so fat that playing is reduced to just rolling around. African wild dogs yip and twitter when they're excited. They never bark, and they differ from other dogs in many respects. They never live alone, and only the dominant female in the pack gives birth. And that single litter can be as many as 15 to 20 pups. A raven dropping in for some scraps is immediately investigated as a potential playmate. At certain times of the year, another migration sweeps across Africa. But unlike the wildebeest that must travel by foot, these are creatures of the air. They are quilias, one of the most numerous birds in the world. A single flock fills the skies for miles with millions upon millions of wings. Hawks dive through the wheeling flock, but they are overwhelmed by the sheer numbers of their prey. Towards evening, the flock stops at a small pool to drink, and the skies fill instead with the setting sun. It's the end of the day in Africa, a day that blazes in the sky long after the land grows dark. And there will be another day for the great herds and the flocks. For there is always an African tomorrow waiting to be born. It's the dry season, and in the unforgiving heat, a lion and her cubs search for water. She carries one when she can, but the others complain, exhausted by the journey. The cubs are growing thin. The herds have moved on and hunting is poor. The lion has less and less milk. She stops often to rest. But one little cub lags far behind. In her need for water, the lion has to choose between her cubs and her own survival. Grant's gazelles are surprised by the unusual sight of a lion cub, lost and alone on the open plains. The little lion struggles on, but his family is far out of sight. Miraculously, he is headed in the right direction. Stumbling down a slope, he finds water and his mother. At the edge of the savannah, where the trees blend into the plains, a mother impala looks after her fawn. But there is a watcher in the tall grass. The leopard is hungry and begins to stalk. The doe gets wind of danger. As the leopard maneuvers into a better position, the doe strides off, trying to lead the hunter away from her fawn. Ah, but the cat is not fooled. It has a taste for baby impala and begins to search the grass for the hidden fawn. Methodically, the leopard sweeps back and forth, but the fawn has no scent and makes no move. Defeated, the leopard gives up, and the anxious mother rushes to her baby. There is no tall grass to hide a young Thompson's gazelle. Tommies rely on speed. They race for their lives against the fastest animal on land, the cheetah. The cheetah is a speed demon. It is light-boned, has long, lean legs, a flexible spine, and a sliding shoulder to lengthen its stride. A Tommy merely runs, while a cheetah explodes across the ground. The chase takes so much energy that a cheetah must spend 15 to 20 minutes resting before it can eat. This gives others a chance to spot the kill. From miles away, vultures began to assemble at the carcass. Within moments, the cheetah is outnumbered and driven from its hard-won meal. A black-backed jackal is not so easily discouraged. The squabbling brings spotted hyenas in to contest the meager scraps. In no time at all, there is nothing left, and the vultures rise high to resume their sky patrol. Far below, the waters of the Okavango Delta shimmer in the sun. A skimmer slices the water with its lower beak. And scoops up a fish. Skimmers nest on the sandy banks of the many channels. A parrot brings a fish to the nest, but the offering is too much for the tiny chick. A smaller morsel is eagerly devoured. A sandpiper scurries around collecting the discarded fish and then washing off the annoying grains of sand. As the sun goes down, the delta turns to molten gold. After dark, a crowned plover is disturbed from her nest by a slight sound in the sand. But the snake is not after her. He's an egg-eating snake, and he heads directly for her nest. It looks physically impossible, but the snake is preparing to eat the egg whole. His jaws completely detached to encompass the enormous meal. With internal blades on his spine, the snake crushes the egg after he swallows it. A brown hyena tries the same trick with a sava melon. And confronts a universal problem. A spring hare watches the hyena go with some relief. He'd make a better meal than a sava melon. In a burrow underground, a female looks after the newest arrival. Beneath this misty canopy lives a group of animals as compelling to humans as any society of our own. These are the chimps of Gombe. Chimpanzees are our closest relatives, sharing 98% of our genetic makeup. For decades, Jane Goodall and others have come here seeking to understand whatever the chimps have to tell us. These chimps are tool users like ourselves. They pass down their skills by teaching the next generation. This is the beginnings of culture, and this is where we, too, began. For like the chimps, we too are out of Africa. And in their dark and knowing eyes, there's a fleeting glimpse of a past that still echoes within us all.
This is PBS.